My fiancé said, "Everyone at work thinks you're the boring one in this relationship." I answered, "Good to know." That night, I quietly stepped out of every plan she thought I'd show up for. 3 days later, her boss called me privately and said, "We need to talk. It's about something she said yesterday." I'm Sam, 32, and until last week I thought my fiancé respected me enough not to trash talk me to her coworkers. Turns out I was wrong, and what started as a casual insult became the thread that unraveled our entire relationship when her boss felt compelled to warn me about what she'd been saying behind my back. I'd been with Jessica for 3 years, engaged for the last 8 months. We met through a running club, bonded over our shared love of true crime podcasts and Sunday morning farmers markets. She worked in marketing at a mid-sized tech company, had this vibrant social life at the office, always coming home with stories about her team's dynamics I liked hearing about her day. I thought we had something solid, but about 2 months ago, things shifted. She started making little comments about how I was too quiet at social gatherings, or how I never wanted to do anything spontaneous. I'd suggest we stay in and cook dinner. She'd roll her eyes and say I was boring. I'd decline going to her co-worker's birthday party at some loud bar because I had an early morning meeting, and she'd accuse me of never supporting her social life. Last Thursday night was when everything came to a head. We were having dinner at home. I'd made pasta, we were drinking wine. Everything seemed normal. Then out of nowhere, she said, "You know, everyone at work thinks you're the boring one in this relationship." I set down my fork. "What?" "My team. They all think you're kind of dull. Like whenever I mention you turned down plans or wanted to stay in, they're like, 'Wow, he sounds fun.'" She said it with this little laugh, like it was amusing. "You've been complaining about me to your coworkers?" Not complaining, just being honest about our relationship. It's normal to talk about your partner at work. There's talking about your partner and there's making them sound like a problem. Which have you been doing? She shrugged. "I mean, you kind of are boring lately. You never want to go out. You don't like meeting my work friends. You're always tired. It's just the truth." The truth? Or your version that makes you look like the fun one stuck with the lame boyfriend? "Fiancé," she corrected. "And I'm not making anything up. You are those things." I looked at her across the table, this woman I was supposed to marry in 6 months, and felt something fundamental shift. "Good to know," I said quietly. "Don't be dramatic about this." "I'm not being dramatic. I genuinely appreciate you letting me know how you talk about me when I'm not around. It's clarifying." She rolled her eyes. "See? This is exactly what I mean. You're so serious all the time." I finished my dinner in silence. She scrolled through her phone. After I cleaned up the dishes, I went to the bedroom and started thinking about what to do next. The thing is, Jessica had a big work event that weekend. Her company's annual summer party on Saturday. Partners were invited. I'd RSVP'd yes months ago. She'd also signed us up for her friend's engagement party on Sunday and a team happy hour on Friday that she'd been excited about me finally attending. That night, while she was in the shower, I sent 3 emails. One to Jessica's co-worker Megan, who'd organized the summer party, saying I couldn't make it due to a family emergency. One to her friend Hannah about the engagement party, same excuse. And one to the happy hour organizer, apologizing for the last-minute cancellation I didn't tell Jessica. I just went about my week normally. When Friday came and she asked what time I'd meet her at the happy hour, I said, "I'm not going." "What? Sam, you promised." "I never promised. You assumed. I sent my regrets to the organizer on Thursday." "Why would you do that?" "Because I'm the boring one, remember? Why would your fun coworkers want me there bringing down the energy?" Her face went red. "You're being petty." "I'm being honest. You said I don't like meeting your work friends, so I'm not meeting them. Problem solved." "The summer party is tomorrow. Also not going. Sent my regrets to Megan." "Sam, that's a huge company event. Everyone's bringing their partners." "Then you'll have to explain why yours isn't there. Should be easy since everyone already thinks I'm boring. Just tell them I'm at home being dull. She stared at me like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. What is wrong with you? Nothing's wrong with me. I'm just accepting the role you've cast me in. The boring fiancé who doesn't want to do anything. So I'm staying home this weekend. You go have fun without me dragging you down. She tried arguing, tried guilt-tripping, tried saying I was being immature. I just repeated that I was giving her what she clearly wanted. A weekend where she didn't have to be embarrassed by her boring partner Saturday morning. She got ready for the company party alone. She looked beautiful in her dress, and part of me felt sad about what we were losing, but mostly, I felt tired of being someone's punchline. Last chance to change your mind, she said at the door. Have fun, I replied. She left. I spent the day reading, went for a long run, made myself a nice dinner. It was peaceful. Update 1. Saturday night around 11 p.m., Jessica came home from the party absolutely furious. She slammed the door, threw her purse on the couch, and turned on me. Do you have any idea how humiliating that was? Everyone asking where you were, me having to make up excuses about why my fiancé ditched me. What did you tell them? That you had a family emergency. So you lied. What was I supposed to say? That you were being petty because I called you boring? You could have said I didn't want to come. That would have been honest. You made me look like an idiot in front of my entire company. No, Jessica. You made yourself look like an idiot by spending months telling everyone I'm boring and then being surprised when I stopped showing up to prove you right. She opened her mouth, closed it, then went to the bedroom and slammed the door. I slept on the couch. Sunday morning, she tried a different approach. Came out apologetic, said she'd been harsh on Thursday, that she didn't mean it the way it sounded. I told her I was still not going to the engagement party. She cried, said I was ruining everything, that her friends would judge her. I said her friends would probably just think she was dating a boring guy who didn't like parties, which is apparently what she'd been telling people anyway. She went to the engagement party alone. I stayed home. Monday morning, I got a call from an unknown number around 10 a.m. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Sam, this is Robert Chen. I'm Jessica's boss at Apex Marketing. My stomach dropped. Hi, is everything okay? That's what I'm calling to find out. I need to talk to you about something Jessica said in a meeting yesterday. Do you have a few minutes? Sure. What's this about? He sighed heavily. Look, this is awkward, but I feel like you need to know. We had an emergency strategy meeting yesterday, Sunday afternoon, because a major client was threatening to pull their account. Jessica was supposed to be there. She showed up an hour late, clearly upset, and when I asked what was wrong, she said you'd been abusing her and she was afraid to go home. I felt like I'd been punched. She said what? She said you'd been emotionally abusive, controlling, that she was scared of you. She broke down crying in front of the whole team. Sam, I've met you several times at company events. You've always seemed like a decent guy, but I had to take her claim seriously. I told her we'd help her find resources, that she should document everything, that she wasn't alone. Robert, I have never... Let me finish. After the meeting, one of her co-workers, Megan, pulled me aside. She said Jessica had been complaining about you for months, calling you boring and unsupportive, and that you'd skipped the company party and an engagement party this weekend. Megan said she thought Jessica was exaggerating or lying about the abuse claims because she was embarrassed about you not showing up to events. She showed me text messages where Jessica had called you dead weight and said she wished she'd never gotten engaged to you. I couldn't speak. Sam, I'm calling you because I don't know what the truth is here, but I do know that if Jessica is lying about abuse, that's serious. And if she's telling the truth, you need to know people are concerned. Either way, I thought you deserved to hear this directly from me. She's lying, I said, my voice shaking. I've never laid a hand on her, never threatened her. The worst thing I did was skip her work events this weekend because I'm tired of being called boring. That's it. That's the whole story. Can you prove that? Do you have any documentation of your interactions? I don't know. We live together. We talk. We text sometimes when we're at work. I don't have anything that proves I'm not abusive because I'm not abusive. I believe you, Robert said quietly. But Sam, you need to protect yourself here. If Jessica's willing to lie to her entire team about something this serious, you need to think about what else she might be willing to do. After we hung up, I sat on the couch staring at nothing for probably 20 minutes. Then I called my brother, explained everything, and asked if I could stay with him for a few days. He said yes, immediately. I packed a bag while Jessica was still at work. Left a note on the kitchen counter. Your boss called. I know what you told your team. I'm staying at my brother's. We need to talk, but not here and not now. Then I left. Update 2. Jessica called me 17 times that evening. I didn't answer. Finally, she texted, "We need to talk about what Robert told you. It's not what you think." I texted back, "You accused me of abuse to your coworkers. What part of that is not what I think?" I was upset and emotional, and it came out wrong. I didn't mean it the way it sounded. You said I was abusive and that you were scared to go home. How else could that possibly sound? Can we please just talk in person? No, I'm meeting with a lawyer tomorrow. Don't contact me again. I blocked her number Tuesday morning. I met with a family law attorney my brother recommended. Explained the whole situation. The comments about me being boring, me skipping the events, her false abuse claims at work. The lawyer said I needed to document everything, get statements from anyone who could confirm my character, and seriously consider whether I wanted to stay in this relationship. Even if you smooth this over now, she said, she's shown you what she's willing to do when she's embarrassed or angry. She's willing to accuse you of something that could destroy your reputation and potentially put you in legal jeopardy. That's not someone you want to marry. I knew she was right. Wednesday, Robert called me again. I wanted to update you. After our conversation, I talked to HR about Jessica's claims. They interviewed the team members who were in that meeting. Multiple people confirmed that Jessica has been bad-mouthing you for months, and that her abuse claims seem to come out of nowhere after you didn't show up to events this weekend. HR is concerned she made false accusations, which is a serious policy violation. What happens now? Jessica's been put on administrative leave pending an investigation. If HR determines she knowingly made false claims, she could face termination. I'm sorry this happened, Sam. For what it's worth, everyone who's met you thought the claims didn't make sense. You've always been respectful and kind at company events. Thanks for telling me. After that call, I finally unblocked Jessica's number to send one message. Your company is investigating your false abuse claims. You need to get a lawyer. Do not contact me again. Our engagement is over. She called immediately. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail begging me to understand, saying she'd panicked when her coworkers asked where I was, that she'd made up the story to save face and it spiraled out of control. She said she'd tell HR it was all a misunderstanding, that we'd had a fight, but there was no abuse. I deleted the voicemail without finishing it. Update 3. The HR investigation moved faster than I expected. Within a week, they'd interviewed everyone who was in that Sunday meeting, plus several other co-workers who'd heard Jessica complaining about me over the previous months. Megan apparently provided extensive documentation, text messages, screenshots of group chats, even recordings from a team lunch where Jessica had gone on a 10-minute rant about how I was holding her back from having fun. What really sealed Jessica's fate was a conversation she'd had with another coworker, David, the Monday before the company party. He came forward during the investigation and told HR that Jessica had explicitly said she was going to make Sam look bad for not coming to the event. When David asked what she meant, she'd apparently laughed and said, "I'll figure something out." That premeditation was what turned it from a potential misunderstanding into clear grounds for termination. Robert called me again on Friday, exactly 1 week after his first call. Jessica's been terminated. She tried to walk back the abuse claims, said she was emotional and exaggerated, but the investigation found she'd been planning to discredit you even before you skipped the events. Combined with the false accusations, HR felt they couldn't keep her employed. How did she take it? Not well. She threatened to sue for wrongful termination. HR's legal team is prepared for that. They have extensive documentation. Robert, I appreciate you keeping me informed. You didn't have to do any of this. Yes, I did. What she did was wrong. Not just to you, but to actual abuse victims who need to be believed. False accusations make it harder for real victims to come forward. I couldn't let that slide. After we hung up, I felt a weird mix of relief and sadness. Relief that people had believed me and that Jessica was facing consequences. Sadness that 3 years and an engagement had ended this way. Jessica tried reaching out through mutual friends over the next few days. Our friend group was split. Some people thought she'd made a terrible mistake but deserved forgiveness. Others were disgusted by the false accusations and cut her off completely. I stayed neutral in those conversations, just told people the facts and let them draw their own conclusions. The one person who surprised me was Jessica's sister, Lauren. She called me about 10 days after Jessica was fired. Sam, I need to apologize to you. Jessica's been calling me nonstop trying to get me to convince you to take her back. When I pressed her on what actually happened, she finally admitted everything. She told me she'd been embarrassed about you not showing up to events and panicked when her boss asked why. She made up the abuse story thinking it would make her look sympathetic instead of rejected. Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. I'm horrified. I always liked you. You were good to my sister. She threw away a good relationship because she cared more about her image at work than about you. I'm so sorry. You don't need to apologize for her choices. I know, but I feel like I should have seen this coming. She's always been obsessed with how people perceive her. I just didn't think she'd go this far. Final update. It's been 2 months since that Thursday night dinner when Jessica called me boring. 2 months since this whole thing started. I'm writing this from my new apartment, a 1-bedroom place downtown that I moved into 3 weeks ago. It's smaller than the place Jessica and I shared, but it's mine, and it feels like a fresh start. The legal situation resolved itself without any lawsuits. Jessica's lawyer apparently advised her that she had no case for wrongful termination, and that pursuing it would only draw more attention to the false accusations. She quietly dropped it. Her former company hasn't taken any action against her beyond the firing, which honestly seems generous given what she did. Jessica moved back in with her parents about a month ago. I heard through Lauren that she's been struggling, can't get interviews because her former employer won't provide a positive reference, is in therapy trying to work through whatever drove her to such destructive behavior, has lost most of her friend group. Part of me feels bad for her. A small part. The rest of me knows that she made every single choice that led to this outcome. We had one final conversation 3 weeks ago. She asked to meet in person to apologize. I agreed to meet at a neutral coffee shop, daytime, public place. She looked terrible, hadn't been sleeping, had clearly been crying a lot. When she sat down across from me, she immediately started apologizing. Sam, I'm so sorry for all of it. For calling you boring, for complaining about you to my coworkers, for the abuse claims. I don't know what I was thinking. I was so focused on my image and what people thought that I destroyed the best relationship I ever had. Why did you do it? I asked. The abuse claims specifically. You had to know that would blow up in your face. I panicked. My boss asked where you were in front of the whole team, and Megan made a comment about how I must not be that great if my own fiancé didn't want to come to my company party. Everyone laughed. I felt humiliated. So when Robert pulled me aside after the meeting and asked if everything was okay at home, I made up this story thinking it would make people feel sorry for me instead of judging me. I didn't think it through. You accused me of something that could have destroyed my life. I know, and I'm so sorry. If I could take it back, but you can't. That's the thing about lies, Jessica. Once they're out there, you can't pull them back. You told your entire team I was abusing you. Even though they know now it wasn't true, That accusation will always be associated with my name in their minds. She was crying now. I never meant to hurt you. Yes, you did. Maybe not with the abuse claims. Maybe that really was panic. But everything that led up to it, calling me boring to your co-workers for months, making me the punchline of your work stories, you absolutely meant to hurt me, or at least you didn't care if you did, as long as you looked good. I was wrong about all of it. You weren't boring, Sam. You were stable and kind and consistent. I mistook those things for boring because I was too shallow to appreciate what I had. I'm glad you've realized that. I hope your next relationship benefits from that realization. But this one is over. Is there any chance? No, there's no chance. What you did crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. I could maybe forgive the boring comments. I could probably forgive the complaining to coworkers. But false abuse accusations? There's no coming back from that. She nodded, wiping her eyes. I understand. For what it's worth, you deserve someone so much better than me. Yeah, I do. We finished our coffees in silence. When we left, we hugged briefly. Not a romantic hug, just a final acknowledgement of what we'd been to each other. Then we went our separate ways. I've been doing a lot of thinking these past 2 months about what went wrong. The truth is, the signs were always there. Jessica was always more concerned with appearances than substance. She cared deeply about what people thought, about maintaining a certain image I'd just assumed that was normal social awareness, not realizing it was actually deep insecurity that would eventually lead her to destroy anything that threatened her carefully constructed persona. I also realized I'd been making myself smaller to accommodate her need to be the interesting one. I'd stop talking about my interests because she'd roll her eyes. I'd stop suggesting the activities I enjoyed because she'd call them boring. I'd slowly eroded my own personality to fit into the role she wanted me to play. Never again. I've started reconnecting with the parts of myself I'd let fade. I joined a book club, started going to trivia nights with my brother and his friends, took up photography. Turns out when you're not constantly being told you're boring, you have a lot more energy to pursue the things that actually interest you. Robert actually reached out last week to check in. We met for lunch, and he told me that Jessica's story had become a cautionary tale at his company. Training sessions now include a segment on the seriousness of false accusations and how they harm actual victims. He said if any good came out of the situation, it's that his company is taking workplace integrity more seriously. As for dating, I'm not ready yet. I'm enjoying being single, rediscovering who I am without someone constantly critiquing me. When I am ready, I'll know what to look for. Someone who builds me up instead of tearing me down. Someone whose need for external validation doesn't override their integrity. Someone who sees my quieter qualities as strengths instead of flaws. The weird thing is, I'm almost grateful this happened. If Jessica had never made that comment about everyone thinking I'm boring, we might have gotten married. I might have spent years or decades with someone who fundamentally didn't respect me, who saw me as less than, who would have continued to erode my sense of self until I didn't recognize myself anymore. Instead, I'm free. Starting over at 32, sure, but starting over as someone who knows his worth and won't settle for being anyone's boring fallback option ever again.